Hey guys, today I want to talk about Jodi Huisentruit, and she is the 27-year-old news anchor that went missing on June 27th, 1995. So that morning, she didn't show up for the news. So she had a job where you can't just sneak in late. You have a lot of people depending on you and looking for you on their television sets. So she was running late, and so they called her. Her work called her, and she said she overslept and she's running late for work. And that was at about 4 a.m. Tuesday, June 27th. Her producer called her. When she answered the phone, she explained she had overslept and that she was getting ready to leave for the station. But by 6 a.m., she still hadn't arrived. So someone else filled in for her on her morning show called Daybreak. And by 7 a.m., they just called the police to go do a welfare check on Jodi. So when police arrived at her apartment, they found her red Mazda Miata in the parking lot. And they found that a struggle had taken place near her car. Her car key and some personal items were found nearby, like strewn about the area. And they did get an unidentified palm print from her vehicle. So what I remember about the key is that it was bent. And it was almost like, back then you had to put an actual key in your car door. So it was almost like she put her key in her car door and then someone tried to grab her. So she just held on to the key, and so it bent. So that's what it looked like when they found it. So the police interviewed 3 neighbors who said they heard screams around the time that she would be leaving for work. Another neighbor reported seeing a white van in the parking lot idling. So basically, they didn't have much to go on. Now, there was a person of interest named John Van Sice, and police finally got a search warrant against him in 2017. But nothing ever came of that. But he still is like a suspect or person of interest in a lot of people's minds, like their opinions. Well, the day before her appearance, she had participated in a golf tournament. And according to John Van Sice, who's the one that is a person of interest, she went to his house to view a homemade videotape of a birthday celebration that he had arranged for her the month before. So basically, there could be, I think, of like 2 theories here. that stand out at me. One is this John guy, because I remember, you know, I remember watching some things about this case, and the John guy, I'm not gonna call him by his last name because I think I might be saying it wrong, but the John guy, John V, he liked Jodi, and he was older. He wasn't really her type. You know, Jodi was in the spotlight and probably could get a very successful person, very successful man to date her. And John, he lived in an apartment, I think, near her. He didn't have his own place. He was just, like, I don't even remember what he did for a living, but he just seemed like he was kind of like a case of arrested development. Like, he's hanging around younger people. He's not at the stage in his life that most people were at his age. So I think he could have grown an infatuation with Jodi because she was beautiful and she was successful and popular. Now, from my experience, because I've worked places where there have been older men that worked there too, and sometimes, like, as a young woman, when I would work with these men, I would have my guard let down because I would think they wouldn't be interested in me because they see me as their daughter or something, and then I definitely wasn't interested in them. So you think they feel the same way, like it's just a relationship of friendship, but it could be the men think, oh, you know, when I was her age, women like her didn't give me the time of the day, but now this young woman is giving me the time of day. And then they start thinking you're interested in them. So it could be this guy thought that Jodi liked him more than she did. And maybe when she went to look at that videotape, maybe she told him about someone she was dating, and that kind of made him mad because he thought that she liked him. And so the next morning he like kidnapped her. Maybe he raped her, like maybe he always wanted to do that, and then disposed of her body. It could be that he knew the end was near, like she was gonna date someone else, she wasn't gonna be around him as much. So that's the theory about him, and I think that's why he's a person of interest. My other theory is just that it's somebody who watches the news who was obsessed with her and thought she was beautiful. And it's so easy to find out where people live. Like, even back then, it was probably really easy. Like, you just follow them, or you just hear about, like, I remember when I was little, we used to drive by the local weather lady's house because she was known to wave at people. So, like, everybody knew where she lived. So I'm sure it was the same with Jodi. A lot of people were probably like, oh, that news anchor lives in those apartments. So it's possible it could be someone who was obsessed with her and kidnapped her. And that's why there was a white van, you know, idling. Those are my only two theories with the information I have. Like, it's possible too that she's dating somebody and we don't even know about it because the police aren't telling anybody, and they might have their own suspect. But I think it's really sad because in these cases where their bodies are not found, you have to wonder, what if they're actually being kept captive somewhere all these years? and they're having this miserable life all these years in some dark basement. I mean, you just can't help but wonder that, and it's so sad. That's why I just think we all need to keep our eyes open for weird things. Like, weird, you know, like if you have a neighbor and you see something weird in his basement, or like, just keep your eyes open. Because remember the case where the man kidnapped all those girls in like Ohio? And a girl down the street said she saw the women in the backyard on their hands and knees from her upstairs window. And they were in a fenced-in yard, so the women were on their knees so no one could see them, but because the neighbor was in an upstairs window, she could see them, but she didn't call the police. So if you see something like that, you know, it could be someone's being held hostage. And hopefully none of us see that, but I think we all need to keep our eyes open for stuff like that. But I hope someday we find out what happened to Jodi. I hope they find her. I think if they found her, though, she would have had a really bad life. But I just wanted to bring awareness to this case, and I'll see you in the next one.
You told your friend you're not okay, and tell me what's wrong and why you never said you felt that way. Guess you're trying to stay strong and fake a smile until I look away. But I've known you too long, it hurts to watch your blue eyes fade to gray as you fade away, as you fade away.